What's up, guys? This is Encounters of Every Kind, our podcast number 2. We're here with...
You're here with Living Olmec here, or AKA Raph, or Raph the Elote Loco. Whatever you guys call me, cheers. We're here at Hakuna Makava. Shout out to Hakuna Makava for hitting us up back with this nice little duo that we're doing right here.
So, we're gonna talk about a few spooky things, some experiences that you said you've encountered.
Oh yeah.
With, should I say the word?
Let's just say the shapeshifters.
All right, there we go. Shapeshifters.
But I will quote unquote it later on.
All right. So, what do you want to share? What happened?
So once upon a time, about 3 weeks ago at work, I actually was patrolling on my last 30 minutes of my shift. And so I saw an owl. And it was like right in front of me, but it's dark in that community that I work at. So I braked like immediately. And I kid you not, that thing turned around at me. Like the owl just stared at me. It turned around and just did a hoot. But I wasn't spooked. But I was spooked once I looked closely at its eyes, because you know, owls have human-like eyes. Yeah. So it was reptilian eyes. So I didn't know what to do at that moment. I was like...
Wait, so like when you say reptilian, you saw like the slits?
Yeah, the
eyes?
slits. Okay. So that was like the scariest shit I've ever seen in my life, because I'm like, what is going on? I never seen this before. But I've heard of, you know, those shapeshifters that we call skinwalkers. And I kid you not, I didn't know what to do. So, but it figured that it didn't want to get spotted by me, so it just flew away. But it flew directly kind of towards me, you understand? So it flew inside the golf like cart and kind of almost hit me there, and I kind of just put my hand out there like that, and I didn't know what to do. But the owl just disappeared into the jungles of Florida, because we're just a jungle here. Right. So we're a jungle. This is the weirdest place on earth. Trust me. Either saw that or a nahuele. Now the nahueles are like shapeshifters in Mexico, in the indigenous cultures of Mexico. So they're the same thing, you know, relatively. They're both almost the same thing. Just I think the shapeshifters in Mexico are stronger though.
Okay, explain.
So there's multiple nahueles though. You got
nahueles.
Yeah, nahueles. So there's owls ones. I can't, right off the top of my head, I don't know what her name was, but she's like half owl, half human. So she has wings, owl head, and she kind of like hunts like little kids. So that's that kind of shapeshifter. That's what I mean, that they're like more creepier over there in Mexico.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it's a little different like over here, where they can transform it, okay, into like an animal. Your pet, your best friend, your mom, your dad. They can mimic your mom's voice, by the way. They're like that, so they can fool you. It drives chills up my spine, so.
That's how you know the vibes. Huh?
Yes. Yeah. Bad.
Can you explain the? I don't want to say it wrong, but the story of the two wolves, the white wolf and
the story of El Carejo.
El Carejo.
Right. So El Carejo is a story in El Salvador that is based on two dogs. One's a white dog and one's the black one. So El Carejo Malo is the black one, and El Carejo Bueno is the white one.
It's kind of like a...
So it's like an angel versus devil.
Yeah, there's a duel. It's like the... to me, I think of yin and yang.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that.
In a way.
Almost like they kind of chase each other like that too, in that formation.
Okay.
Chasing each other's like tails.
Okay.
So it kind of does form that formation.
That's interesting.
That's pretty funny that you mentioned that. So it looks alike.
Oh.
So that story takes place in white people's settlement in Quelepa with the Lenca people and all that. So it's a Lenca story necessarily. And that story is, okay, you're a drunk guy or a drunk woman, and you're going home. The white Carejo is the one that actually is gonna follow you home and protect you, because it's a guardian angel necessarily, because the white one is the good one.
Gotcha.
It's gonna protect you. Now the black one is the one that's gonna mal you because you've done something bad, even though you're drunk and you're like, you don't know where you're at, but it's gonna attack you because you did something wrong. But it's still evil, because it could attack you even if you aren't drunk. So that's why the white Carejo exists.
Gotcha.
to combating the black one. So if the white one is not protecting you, well, good luck to you.
Why would the white one not protect you? Would you know anything as to why that would be?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some people think they can fight the black cadejo, right?
Okay.
They can kill it. So when the white cadejo senses that kind of energy, it's like, you don't need me anymore. Because you're on your own now. You want to be an egotistical maniac, you're on your own.
Damn.
So he just kind of leaves you behind, and you better beat the cadejo, but 100% of the time, you're losing. Yeah, El Salvador's got some interesting stories, so some weird story. I can discuss another one. You guys like mermaids? You know, we could talk about mermaids.
We love mermaids.
Like some mermaid stories.
Yes.
This is another Lenca story that not a lot of people in El Salvador know that it's a Lenca story, but only us Lenca people would know. So it's the story of La Serena de Alegría de la Laguna. So that story takes place again in Usulután, El Salvador. That's a Lenca territory. And funny enough, the woman herself that became the mermaid was actually a Lenca woman herself named Siri. So the word Siri means star in our language, and Poton.
Siri.
So Siri means a star. So that was her name. She was the most beautiful Lenca woman in town. She had a nice family and whatnot. So one day, our tribe got attacked by another tribe. We don't know which tribe it was, but it was another tribe. That tribe was led by an evil shaman. And so that evil shaman wanted to marry that girl, right, Siri. And he tried everything to date her, marry her. He asked her multiple times, you want to marry me? You want to marry me? And she said no all the time. And that led to his decision to sacrifice her near a volcano. Because El Salvador is the land of the volcano. So
I didn't know that.
Oh, now you do.
That's tight.
Yeah. So she got sacrificed in the volcano of Tecapa. And in that volcano, she was sacrificed by that evil shaman. His name is Lamani, by the way. Lamani. Sounds kind of eh. But Lamani basically sacrificed Siri in that volcano. But her spirit took over that lagoon right next to it. And so now what she does today is she drags young, cute, handsome men, kind of like what Lamani was. Even though he was a bad shaman, he was still a pretty looking guy.
Yeah.
So that's what she goes after. It doesn't matter if you were bad or good. She's going to drag you into that lagoon. And how she does that is she, shows herself to everyone. And she's so beautiful that they go swimming into that lagoon. And
she lures them
Yeah,
in.
Exactly. So once you're in that center of that lagoon, you start drowning, but you don't know that you're drowning. Because she's drowning you, but you don't know because you're so in love with her that you don't know where you're at.
She enchants them.
Exactly. She
yeah.
possessed you at that point.
Oh my God.
You're simping for her. And once that happens, they don't care. The guy's like, oh, I'm with the mermaid, and then their body resurfaces by the 4th day and they're dead.
Wow.
So all that happens, but you were dead the whole time.
Wow.
So that is the story of La Serena de la Laguna de Alegría. Takes place in El Salvador. You can still visit that lagoon, but I don't recommend swimming in it because of the sulfate. So it's right next to a volcano. I don't think you want to swim next to a volcano to begin with.
No.
I realized that in every culture, though, that there's mermaid stories.
Yeah.
And I find that interesting because that's the only, every culture, it doesn't matter which one you go to, they have a story of some kind of fishtail human.
Yeah.
So I feel like when people tell me, oh, mermaids are not real, I'm like, why does every culture have a story, though, of a mermaid?
Right.
That makes no sense.
Right.
And every time a dolphin passes by, you actually, if you're, paying attention to the ocean, you can actually see the fishtail of a mermaid because dolphins swim with them. Dolphins are the only animals that can actually control them because dolphins are smart, intelligent animals.
Yeah.
So.
Don't they have not a sonar, right?
They have a sonar.
Yeah, that's how they communicate with other animals in the sea.
Yeah, they're beautifully gifted animals.
Yeah. So you would think, I've heard something like that too, they're the only ones that can really communicate with this. I feel like they're like humanoid fish, right? Yeah, they're like the aliens of the sea.
Kind of like that.
Yeah.
You can see it that way. Yeah, for sure you can see it that way.
Yeah.
You can definitely see it like that. So yeah, those are the freaky stories though. So enjoy those mermaids while you're at it.
Well, cheers to the mermaids.
Don't cheers to the mermaids, but don't get near them. So as they say, you can look, but you can't touch.
You think they're so you think they're evil? You think all of them are evil? You think they're all good or bad?
Not all of them are, you know, Ariel, of course.
No.
But I guess in some cultures they're good.
Okay.
And in our cultures they're seen as, I guess, mix of both. It depends. It depends their story, basically.
Right.
Kind of like the Alegría story in El Salvador. It's like she was just an innocent woman who got sacrificed, and now she drags young guys. It's like, you know, you got to understand the reason she got to that point is because she got sacrificed.
Right.
So it's a 50-50.
Right.
But then there's mermaids in other cultures that are just purely evil, and they don't care what you got to say about them. They're going to drag you, and they don't care.
Yeah. So, mermaids, do you believe that there is an Atlantis down there? Or what do you think about that? What's your, like,
That's
what's your take?
interesting. Okay. Because that's like a very big theory, I guess you can say, in the world, because there's always a debate. No, it's real. Oh, it's fake. Oh, this. Oh, that. Because it's kind of the same as Lemuria, because people don't know that maybe there was a continent. But to me, Atlantis, how did I say this? I think there probably was a lost city in the Atlantic Ocean, yeah.
Okay.
But it's, how do I say this? People talk about it as if they know what is in that city, like they think they know it all. That's what makes me mad about that, I guess, because okay, if it's real, then why do people make it sound like, oh yeah, I know everything about Atlantis, this. I'm like, but where you get this information from?
Right. Where's the facts?
Yeah, where's the facts? Same with Lemuria, because you know, I hear people say, oh, the Hawaiian people say that there was a continent, but if you ask Hawaiian people, they don't know what a mu is. Some of them kind of do, but
what's a mu?
Mu is like what Lemuria used to be called.
Okay.
That was like the name of that continent.
That's okay.
That continent in the Pacific Ocean. But like I said, where's the evidence? I guess I need evidence. I need hardcore evidence that okay, Lemuria is right here,
gotcha.
Or yeah, this is this lost city of Atlantis. But what I can tell you though is that there is a underwater Maya ruin off the coast of Mexico and Cuba. Between those two areas, there's like sunken temples, and that right there is like a connection to the Maya and Taino people, because those pyramids look old underneath there, and they've been there for a lot longer than people think.
You think they just sunk down there, or you think that they're actually they were built down there?
I think at one point Mexico and Cuba were connected to each other.
Okay.
Like a landmass.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
Because Mexico, the Yucatec is you can take a boat from the Yucatec to Cuba, and what I'm theorizing is that they had to be a landmass there back then before it sunk. So what I'm thinking is, okay, the Mayas probably had some landmass between them and Cuba, and it just sunk, and that's why there's pyramids down there.
That's interesting.
Because I don't know if they really had the technology to build any kind of pyramid under the water. Yeah, but I believe that the reason they're there is because there was probably a connection between the Yucatec Mayas and the Taino Cubans, like way long time ago, and it just sunk over time. You know, glaciers melted and whatnot. So
the plates moving and
exactly. Yeah. So that's my thing. I do believe there was a connection between the Yucatec Mayas and the Tainos long time ago, and they were able to cross each other, you know, bridges and whatnot.
Okay. It's interesting.
Something to think about, you know?
Yeah. So then when you say that, it takes me back to, so with Atlantis, this was above the water at one point? Is that the theory, or is that like the fact that it just sunk down to the... Okay, so when I think of Atlantis, I'm thinking like there's like an underwater civilization type of thing.
Oh, but,
I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Something.
To me, Atlantis sounds like some alien kind of shit.
Yeah.
I don't think they were people,
Yeah.
per se. It was more than that.
Yeah.
There was something else there.
They were connected to some type of...
something up there.
Yeah.
Same with Lemuria. Like I said, if it's true, I think it was probably an alien kind of civilization as well.
Well, you know, now that I think about it too, like hieroglyphics and stuff are the things that you see that they used to draw. Didn't they draw like other types of beings?
Yeah, they drew a lot of those things. And
so like for the Lencas, do you see a lot of like those hieroglyphics?
We have
like...
hieroglyphics of our people with like sticks, like spears and stuff like that, and that they're like chilling with other animals and stuff. But in the Maya culture, there's a lot of that. So there's a temple that has the, I don't know if you know who Emperor Pakal was. Mm-hmm. He was the greatest like Maya emperor ever. There's actually a drawing of him in a temple where he's ascending into the sky, and there's rays, like these rays that are showing down upon him as he's ascending into the sky after his death. So things like that make me question what did they see in that time period.
Right.
Because it's a clear description that he's ascending somewhere, and there's like a bunch of things going on at once in the skies. So
what were they connected to? I mean, I know God, right? Source, we call source, but what else?
There had to be other things, other deities that were very strong, deities that they believed in.
Right.
But you know, most people in that culture believe in Xibalba, which is the underworld, right?
Oh, that's the underworld.
Yeah, but you can ascend into the underworld because that's what the picture's about, is him ascending into the underworld.
Okay.
So
ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
underworld.
It's crazy. But you know, the underworld is oftentimes looked at as bad, as we know.
Right, negative.
Like Catholicism and Christianity is like, oh, that's hell. But to the Mayas, that's not what it was. Because I have a little Maya Chorti blood too, so I can tell you that Xibalba is not hell. Xibalba is just a place where majority of us do go, but we're not going to suffer because it's just death. You know, that's where you'll see your other relatives. That's where you'll even see your dog or your pet that you lost, because, you know, people say, oh, God, the dog didn't go to heaven. You know, that's a popular thing. Like me growing up, that's what my pastor when I used to go to church, pastor was like, well, I'm sorry to tell you, but your pet is not in heaven. And I'm like, why? Isn't that a spirit though?
Yeah.
But in our cultures, they do go to an underworld, or they do go somewhere in the afterlife. So
that's like an in-between space then, Xibalba, is when we pass?
We pass on to the next life, yeah. So we're dead, but we're going somewhere else, yeah.
So it's like the way to the next.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see your dog there. It's a guarantee. So that's why when my dogs pass, I know I'm gonna see them again one day.
In the underworld.
That's how I think about it.
In Xibalba.
In Xibalba, in the beautiful Xibalba. That's right.
That's interesting. Yeah, because when you think of underworld, society has made it seem dark and, like you said, hell, the pits of hell, but it's not. I didn't know that. I'm like,
mind blown.
Yeah.
It's like people don't teach that though.
That's interesting.
That's the thing. They stripped everything from us so that we don't know that information.
Right. We're so programmed. Wow.
Yep.
I had another thought, but I can't think of it. It's like I was so intrigued in the whole Xibalba. Xibalba. I remember seeing that in a movie in El Dorado, the cartoon.
El Dorado, the movie?
Yeah, where they're like throwing the gold to Xibalba.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Which is funny because like the movie's actually based on the Colombian Native Americans, but they played the whole Maya game, which is interesting. I'm like, what kind of...
So they were Mayans?
They're not Mayas because Maya people are different than Chipcha people. The movie is based on Chipcha people from Colombia, and they're different than Maya people. They didn't play Pocotalk. That's the game, the ball game that you're describing.
Yeah.
It's Pocotalk.
Yeah, I seen that in Chichen Itza.
Yeah. There's a ball court.
Yeah.
It's Pocotalk. That's the game, Pocotalk. But that's a Maya ball game. That's not a Chipcha ball game. So that movie, to me, is like they didn't do enough research because it's based on like the Chipchas. It's not based off the Maya people at all. inaccurate, as I'm going to say.
Gotcha.
It's inaccurate. That movie is very inaccurate. Yeah, okay, I won't lie. Shell was my, you know, childhood crush. Absolutely. Absolutely. Gorgeous, but, you know, she was cheap chat. She wasn't Maya at all.
Got you.
Maya people are just different.
Yeah.
Different people, different civilization. Do I believe we're all the same though? I do, actually. We're just culturally different.
Got you.
If you get where I'm going with
Yeah,
this.
with the indigenous.
Mm-hmm.
The group.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
So,
let's jump on giants.
In South America, you know, there's the giants from Argentina and the Patagonian areas and Tierra Fuego. They describe giants. The Europeans even describe seeing giants there. It's written from a Spanish conquistador or explorer. I forgot his name, but he said he saw them in South America. So I believe that a lot of them did get in our lines. Long time ago. They mixed with our little people, because you know our people are small.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not, but our people are small.
Right.
So I think those giants contributed into mixing with our little brown people and formed a new race, Native Americans, what we are today. So those people mixed in with us. That's why you see some people have extremely giant hands from our culture. Some might be 6 feet. Some of them might have an extra finger.
Really?
Which is actually from the giant. Those giants are mutants. And if you look at the Aztec codex, they are pulling a giant in that codex. They're pulling it. It's a bunch of Aztec people, and they're pulling this giant. They killed it.
Wow.
It looks like the giant was over 8 feet tall.
Wow.
So our people were pretty ruthless. We even beat giants. That's crazy.
And that's a trip. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's like we mixed with them, but we also kicked their ass. It's funny.
We're gonna take you out too.
It's like, I'm gonna kill you too. I'm gonna beat you up.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
That's my take. Those giants probably are descendants of what you're calling aliens.
Right.
To me, because they had extra hands, they had weird looking feet. They look different than regular humans. But I believe they did come, you know, into our lines, and that's why we look different than everybody else. There's just something about us that looks different. Like people look into our eyes and they see something they're not supposed to look into our eyes. I can look in your eyes. We're both natives, right?
Right.
I can look into your eye with no problem, because we both have this spirit aura from our ancestors. But let's say a black or a white person sees it, they're gonna see some shit.
Really?
Yeah, they're gonna see some shit. That's why you don't look into their eyes either, because you're gonna see something from them that you're not gonna like.
That makes sense. Damn, and you know, eye contact's like really, like, it's just something I do naturally. So, but I'm always wearing glasses.
Right.
A lot of the times, but yeah, I could see that. People see.
Yeah, like staring into your eyes, kind of. Like, I can stare in your eyes,
Right.
and it'll be fine because we're both the same.
Right.
But when we look into other people's eyes, it might make us uncomfortable.
Yes, it does.
It might make us very uncomfortable.
Right.
We're like, oh no, I can't see that.
Right.
So it's like it's a weird thing, but it's proven, because that's what our elders said.
Wow.
Our eyes are like portals in a way.
To the soul.
Exactly. That's exactly
I'm
what
like
it is.
stuck in thought now. I'm like thinking about it.
It's like that.
It really is.
It's like that.
Yeah. I used to think that was like such a corny saying, but it really is. That's the truth. It's reality.
It is the truth. It's reality. Exactly.
Have you ever felt like you looked into like somebody's eyes and you were like, whoa, that person is not human, or that there's something a little off about them?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
It happens more often than not.
Yeah. This is my first time having kava.
This was delightful.
This is
This
awesome.
cleans out your soul, by the way. That's what the Polynesian people believe in. This is their tradition.
Yeah, can you explain a little bit more about kava? Because I don't really know. I just know you've told me, yeah, a little bit.
Kava actually originated in the Pacific Islands. And this is what we call tea. That's why it doesn't really taste like anything, but when you add fruits and whatnot, it does taste like something.
Right.
But it still tastes, I guess, bitter, if you may. A little bit, yeah. We said that at the same time. But it's a tea from Polynesia, and the Polynesians treat this as a sacred thing. It's kind of like corn to us. Like, yeah, we eat it, but it's sacred to us. It's sacred to burn smudge around the corn because you're going to please the corn gods and whatnot. So to them, this is like their sacred medicine. This is tea. It's a remedy that you use.
Okay.
So they make it into like a bowl, you know, smash the leaves, the kava leaf, pour water, and, you know, they burn it usually. And they share with each other in a bowl, and they say, you know, the word bula, sip it. It's medicine. This, what we're consuming right now, is medicine from Polynesia.
And what does bula mean?
I don't know what bula means. It's a beautiful saying. It's what it's out of respect.
Basically, like, thank you, right?
Mm-hmm. Kind of like that. That's what I want to assume is what it means.
Okay.
I want to be respectful to my Polynesian brothers, but it's a form of respect when they do it.
Okay.
You do it because you're respecting their culture.
Period.
So.
Yeah, I like the way it makes you feel too. It's like a
relaxation.
Yeah, you're just chilling.
I'm relaxing right now too.
Yeah.
So trust me.
Oh yeah.
I'm relaxing a lot. That's what it does to it. It relaxes your mood. So it's a very good medicine.
I like it.
It's very
I'll be having more of it for sure.
Yeah, after this, I'm getting more for sure.
Is there anything else you want to share, or?
Yeah. So I guess Latin America, let's just talk about that real quick.
Okay.
So I know a lot of people that identify with that thing, right? Latino, Hispanic, or whatnot. I wish people would actually look at themselves in the mirrors, though, especially from those regions like Mexico and Central America. I wish they would pay attention to their features.
Right.
Our features are different than everybody else's features.
Right.
So as I grew up, you know, I didn't know I was native. Obviously, I was a kid. But people would look at me like, this guy looks different. Why does he look different than this person? And I was grouped with those Latinos, right?
Right.
But I always ask this question. I'm like, why am I in the same group as somebody who clearly looks white, but we're supposed to be Latin Americans or whatever? Like, we don't look the same. And, you know, people would judge me for questioning that because I'm like, why?
Right.
Why am I grouped with these people if I look different? And I never understood that growing up, but once I got older and I was on Google one day and I kind of typed in El Salvador and it shows demographics and it said 90% mestizo, and I'm like, what the fuck is a mestizo?
Right.
I clicked on that and it says a mix of Spanish and Native American. So at that moment, my mind was like this, like an atomic bomb. I'm like,
epiphany, huh?
I'm like, why didn't my dad tell me? And I was mad at him. So I asked my dad, why didn't you teach me this? And then he's like, we're gonna have a conversation now. I'm like, okay. He's like, well, listen, that's what I actually am. I'm like, you're mestizo? So I would be considered one, yeah. I'm like, okay. Explain then. He's like, oh, your grandpa is Spanish, but your grandma is what we call Indio. And I'm like, Indio, but it says Native American. He's like, that's just another name. I learned to not say the word Indio too much, only for like political reasons and education. I'll say the word Indio, but over the years I don't say that word, or Indian either. But
I know, and I think Indian, I think like from India.
Yeah. We're not from India.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
No offense to nobody.
No offense to anyone. Yeah. Of course, absolutely. Yeah. But at that moment, you know, him teaching me, okay, well, your grandma is Indio. I was like, well, now that I look at it, yeah, she does look Native American, but she wasn't. How I said, she was not with it. Only not in a hateful way, but in El Salvador, we have a bad history of Native American genocide and beatings and torture. So in 1930, we had a thing called La Matanza, where the government became a dictatorship and started killing Native people because they were rebelling. But the reason why they were rebelling is because there's this familia, the family called La Catorce, the 14, and they were European people who own over 90% of the coffee field. But guess who were the people working in those coffee fields? The indigenous people of El Salvador. So they weren't getting money. And can you imagine living what, 50 cents maybe in the 1930s. And people still don't get paid nothing in some of those countries today.
So sad, yeah.
So it's
Slave
like
work.
Yeah, slave work. So they wanted to rebel, and they did, but they got killed for it. So in 8 months, they killed 30,000 Nahua people in El Salvador, which kind of affected the other tribes too, the Mayas and the Lenca people. They eventually did get to my people in the 80s.
In the 80s?
Yeah, where the civil war began. Civil war took place, and there was a massacre called El Mozote. And that massacre, they killed 1,000 women and children in 3 days.
Wow.
So it's a lot to think about, but children and women dying, in 3 days from the government that was backed up by, the United States as well.
Wow.
And till this day, it's known as the worst massacre in Latin American history, because that much women and children dying in 3 days. And yeah, ironically enough, my dad's department, Chalatenango, was the most affected during that war, and a lot of the people there came here to the United States, settled down. They still have trauma to this day.
Oh, I can imagine.
So it was our people, the Lenca people, suffered in the 80s. So we suffered as of recent. And so it's just sad how these governments can mistreat us for looking different and say, well, you're going to call yourself Salvadoran now, because if you don't, I'm going to kill you. That's basically how it was over there.
So it just sounds like an agenda to wipe out the indigenous, the tribes.
Exactly. But till this day, there's over 600,000 natives in El Salvador, so their population's still there.
Yeah.
We're not dead, so
Yeah.
we're not dead. We're still here. I'm still here. I promise, I'm still here. And you might as well look at Chief Lempira as well, the greatest Lenca chief of all time. We can discuss about that next, though.
All right, let's jump on it.
Go ahead. Let me finish this.
Okay.
This is delicious, guys. This is the mango flavor.
I got raspberry.
Raspberry.
Ooh.
I might try that one next. So back to chiefdoms and matriarchs. As I've said, like in multiple stories on my Instagram, it's living.olmec, by the way.
I'll tag you on this.
Go ahead. There we go.
I'm gonna blow you up.
Blow you up. Gotta blow you up too, though. Together. Rock on. So in our culture, we have a matriarch, not a patriarch. A lot of people have patriarch, which is owned by a male, right?
Right.
But the women are the ones that are rulers. And they're looked at as the most precious things in the world. So our people looked up to women left and right. Our clan mothers, our chiefs. But there was male chiefs too, obviously, because I just showed you who Lempira was.
Was there women shamans?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. There still is in El Salvador and Honduras today.
Wow.
You can see them everywhere. They're the ones who are mainly the shamans, actually, to this day.
Wow.
And our cultures, because that's how much we look up to women in our cultures.
Yeah.
Until, obviously Spanish colonialism kind of switched a lot of things up. But in our cultures, we always looked at women sacredly. So one of our leaders back then was Antusilan Ula the First. So she had twins during her reign. So she kind of had to pass it off to Lempira. But check this out. She was like, she's the best woman in my opinion, to be honest, from that time period. So she was still training Lencas left and right. She was uniting villages during the Spanish colonialism.
While being pregnant with twins. Wow.
She was uniting Maya people. She told the Nahua people, get it together. She told her own regions, get it together. She went to the Lencas of Honduras and said, we need to form an alliance again because these people are in our doorstep. So the story of her kind of ends where she passes off her leadership to Lempira. And he's the great Lempira, that his name means Lord of the Mountains. That's what he was, Lord of Mountains. And she moved to Honduras, and she had to hide away because the Spanish were actually after her, and she gave birth to twins, and obviously she lived her life. We don't know how she died, but I'm assuming natural deaths probably. But she didn't interfere with the war after having children, but she gave leadership to Lempira. Lempira led a 10-year rebel against the Spanish, killing more than 500 Spaniards. He was like that. He was him.
Wow.
He was him. He wasn't scared of no Spaniards. He was just going left and right, swinging left and right with his forces from both Salvadoran and Lencas from Honduras as well. So.
No, it just amazes me that they didn't have like guns and stuff back in the day.
We had bows and arrows.
And they were able to.
And they were swinging.
Wow.
Bows and arrows, but
That's
they also
dope.
made knives, daggers.
Yeah.
But those daggers that you see nowadays are probably like this big, but the daggers they had were like this big.
Wow.
So they were out here stabbing them too through those steels, because people think the Spanish steels, the steels that they wore, were protected, but it wasn't, because why was my chief over here slicing and dicing, you know, left and right? So it's like,
that's crazy.
No, it wasn't like that. And people think our people got conquered, but we really didn't get conquered because, okay, yeah, I have a Spanish last name now. I do.
So do I.
Yeah, we have Spanish last names now. But in those regions of the Lenca territory of eastern El Salvador, there was not a lot of resources for the Spanish to touch, so they kind of left us alone. But they still said, oh, you're going to be Catholic or we're going to kill you.
We'll get back into
So, back to the religion thing, that's what my people had to do in order to still be here today. Which is sad because they become Catholics.
They had to conform.
They had to conform, but they secretly still practice their religions,
yeah.
their spirituality in private.
Right.
But if they did it in public, obviously, not a good ending.
Right. So
they had to stop their stories. You know, a lot of our stories are oral because they burnt our books too.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so not a lot of people know who the Lencas are, but our books did get either burned or flushed down the river. And they made us watch it. Our history just goes just like that. But our stories are remembered in memory.
They're here, yeah. Forever.
So they passed it down for 500 years, even to this day, 2023. You know, I have a lot of oral stories I can share with you if you want, but they're pretty long, but I can share a few. But they're stories that our ancestors passed down to us in the span of 500 years of Spanish colonialism. So we have to keep that memory here and pass it down to our children and keep going, keep going. We never died, we just had to kind of become one with the new society.
Right.
Unfortunately, no more jungle living, no more eating healthy like we used to. So
it's crazy. You have to kind of keep it alive as you. Do you feel like that's your job today?
My job today is that
to educate and
yeah.
to keep it going and to unite people.
Yeah, I just want every single one of us to be united and realize, look, we have one thing in common, guys. Like we're all pretty much still native, but you know, in order to unite this whole native unity, you have to just talk to other natives from areas of Canada, USA, you know, not just Central America, even the Caribbean. You gotta go talk to them in South America too. And you know, South America is our biggest supporters because they know what we dealt with. We dealt with the same colonizer.
It's crazy.
You know, the United States dealt with the English, but we dealt with the Spanish. So it's crazy. Now, kind of back to my whole labeling thingy.
Yeah.
Because now that I mentioned USA natives, I just find it funny that they can call themselves natives, which a lot of them have British blood though. So why don't they have this specific name, you know? Like why
why are we Latino?
Why are we Latino? Why are we Hispanic? Why aren't they Britannics, you know?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's like people don't really think about that, but it's true. What I'm trying to say is why are they special? We're all special, but why do they get a little bit better treatment by, you know, they can call themselves native, but they have British blood, so why aren't they Britannics? Why do I have to be Hispanic or Latino or whatever? But they can call themselves native still, when a lot of the time our people have over 40% native blood.
Right.
A lot. Like you know, your average Mexican is 45% native and 45% Spanish. Your average Salvadoran is 45% native but 50% Spanish. Your average Peruvian is 75% native and only 25% Spanish.
Oh wow.
Your average Guatemalan is 80% native but only 20% Spanish. You understand the pattern that I'm kind of going with?
Yeah.
These countries are all native. I can name you right now: Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Mexico, El Salvador. Those are my top 5 indigenous countries with the most indigenous ancestry, but we're called Latino and Hispanic. Again, why do they get to call themselves native, but why can't I?
Right.
When I look just like them.
You know, I feel like it's a lack of knowledge for a lot of people. And I think that's another way of like, it sounds bad, but I feel like it's another colonization. It's still there, you know? Like they want to keep the truth and the information away from people.
Mm-hmm.
Because why? Because since the very beginning, they've been trying to wipe out the indigenous.
Mm-hmm. Still to this day.
Still to this day.
But I'm 100,000% sure the U.S. knows we're natives.
Yeah.
They just need to keep calling us that.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy is, you know, when like you're signing an application online or for whatever reason, and it gets to the part where like, what's your race? A lot of times I will choose Hispanic, right? And then or is it race or ethnicity?
Yeah.
One of the two, and then it makes you choose a second option where it's like, okay, well, which one?
Like race, right?
And they don't have like, I don't think they have Mexican on a lot of them. I think you have to choose white.
Yeah, it's white.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's the census, right?
Yeah.
So in the census, they got ethnicity, right? And it does mention Hispanic and Latino now.
Yeah, right.
But the race part is white, black, Asian, Native, and Alaskan Native, and then the last one is
it does say
Native and Pacific Islander.
Got you.
Or they actually put Hawaiian there, actually. Hawaiian and Pacific Islander.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. But there's an update on that, actually, now that you're speaking about that, because under Native American, Aztec and Maya shows up now.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
If you look it up now, yeah, Maya shows up under there. It seems like they're including the Mexican and the Central Americans as natives a little bit, but not as much.
Got you.
But because they only added 2 people, Aztec and Maya. But Aztecs are not called Aztecs anymore. They're called Nahua people now.
Nahua.
Yeah, the Nahua people. So it's kind of wrong too at the same time. It's like, what's the U.S. government doing? I don't know. At least they put Maya correctly. So that is the census nowadays, though. They added natives. And ironically, I looked up a database, and it said, like, native, population, 2.3 million for, like, just regular American Indians.
Yeah.
But then it says 2.9 million for another one. It says Latinos who now identify as Native American. So it's 2.9 million. So then it goes to another one, where it's now probably 5 million now. It says it's now a mix of people who are both Mexican Native American or Central American Native American mixed with American Indians, which is 4.9 million, but 5 million probably now. So altogether, that's 10 million.
Yeah.
Right? 3 years ago, the native population wasn't 10 million; it was 2.9 million only. So in the span of 2 years, our people have been waking up and choosing, oh wait, I'm Native American though. I don't look like the other group. I'm not white, I'm not black, I'm not Asian. They look at their skin and they're like, oh shit,
I'm native.
I'm actually native, but I've been putting this wrong. But they still feel like they have to respect the elders because they're not connected with their tribe. So they still put Latino, I guess, as an ethnicity, but their race as native. And now that's almost 3 million of them in the United States now that identify as ethnically Latino but racially native.
Okay.
So they understand the difference.
It's coming out.
Yeah, so they're doing their history research, DNA tests, all that goody stuff. Now they're like, wait a minute. Yeah, I am different than everyone else. I look different.
That's good. Because I feel like for a lot of years, a lot of people, they didn't know how to identify, or they'd be like, yeah, I'm a Mexican American, but I don't know anything about, you know, my roots. Or I feel like it's really important for people to look into that, right?
Exactly.
To really know.
Yeah, of course. You know, one step is DNA test, and after DNA test, just do genealogy, which just simply means you're gonna ask your grandma questions, see if they have a birth certificate or other papers that are like 50 years old or even older, and then you start discovering who that person's parents were, and it becomes a family tree. And it takes years to pinpoint each and every single one of them.
Yeah.
Because we're here in 2023, but you want to find someone from like maybe what 1600, it's gonna take you years.
Yeah.
But people have done it. I know a Mexican girl, shout out to her, wherever you are, but she did a genealogy, and she found her ancestor all the way back to almost Spanish colonialism, which was almost 1500s.
Wow.
She was able to find that all this time she always had a native line. I'm still kind of doing it. The furthest I've gone is 1900s right now.
Wow.
So I figured out a lot of my family just stood in Chalatenango, and they were Maya and Lenca people all over my line. So mix of both. So it's pretty dope. And I even found one that does have a indigenous last name. And that was cool.
What name was that, if you don't mind sharing?
Tamacas. Tamacas is a native name, a real native name. So that was hard to find.
Wow.
But I kind of just stopped there because it basically told me, okay, yeah, my line is both of these people from my Salvadoran side. So, and that is the native identity in Latin America.
There we go. Do you have anything else you want to share? Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Well, first and foremost, we're still here. I went nowhere. 500 years of Spanish colonialism did nothing. I represent these people with pride, these people with pride, and these people with pride. Go back to your roots. It's not a bad thing. Be proud that you're brown or red. Look into your ancestry. Do what you can. I promise you, once you find your tribe, it's going to be much better and easier path for you reconnecting all the way back to your roots. So what I advise people to do is just DNA test, genealogy, ask your parents questions. You know, if they don't know the answer, your grandparents might know the answer. If you're lucky and your great-grandparents were there, they will definitely know the answer for sure. And they might even share some, you know, crazy-ass shape-shifting stories that you never even heard of. So well, that is that.
Well, thank you, amigo. I'm
Thank
excited.
you, amiga.
Yes.
Appreciate you for having me here.
I appreciate you for being on and sharing all of that.
Absolutely. It was an honor. So thank you. And that is all from the Olmec of the Living.